I'm Paris.
And I'm Laura.
And today we're going to make these awesome homemade fidget spinners.
Alright, let's get started.
Lego. What you'll need for this project is some oven-baked clay, a bearing, some fender washers. We're choosing 3/16 of an inch, and we're choosing fender washers because they have smaller holes. Nuts, we chose 3/8 of an inch, but of course you can use whatever size. A template that we'll link in the description box below, and some wax paper.
So you can find bearings at most bike shops, or you can order them online. Or if you have an old pair of rollerblades lying around, you can use the wheels. They actually each have 2 bearings per wheel, and they're pretty simple to take out. You just take a screwdriver and you kind of pull towards you and move it around and keep pulling. And they'll eventually just pop out. There. So I got one bearing out, and the other one pops out really easily now. It's just there, and you just take this thing out and push. Ooh, there you go. So out it comes. Then you can make 2 fidget spinners with these bearings.
Now it's optional to use these nuts to place them like this just for weight, but you don't really need them. The real fidget spinner uses bearings, and they're more expensive than nuts as they do the same job. So I'm going to use them with, and Mom's going to use them without.
So what you're going to want to do is put your template down. Now I have 2 here. This is the regular fidget spinner size, and this is the smaller one. This works really well for small hands, but today I'm going to use this one here. I'm just going to make it just a little bit smaller so it's not quite as big. And you take and put your wax paper over top, and then you get your clay. Now this clay has to be oven baked clay, and what I did is I took half of this package here. Okay, so you're going to take and keep rolling it and working the clay in your hands to make it nice and soft so that you can really mold it. And once it's nice and soft, you're going to want to roll it into a nice ball. And what I do is I start to arrange the fidget spinner and how it looks just in my hand before I actually put it down on the template and roll it out. So you squeeze it down a little bit, and as you're squeezing it, you're going to squeeze out one side like this, and then you're going to sort of squeeze out the other side, and you're going to do the same thing like this. So you're kind of making it this shape, but you're not going to start right away forming it around that template. You're going to just kind of get it as close to that as you can before putting it on your wax paper and then really molding it out. So once you have it in the approximate shape of the fidget spinner, you can then put it on your template and start molding it, pushing it down, and trying to get it to fit in that template. Now thickness-wise, you have your bearing, so you're going to want to make it as thick as your bearing here. So you would just kind of put it beside this to give you an idea of how you want it to look. There. And keep flipping it over because that bottom side's going to get nice and smooth as you push it down. So you want to keep making sure that both sides are as smooth as possible. There, I think that looks pretty good, like that. So now you're going to want to cut out a spot in the middle to put your bearing. So I'm just going to push this bearing down a little bit like that to get an idea. I'm going to actually use a toothpick, but you can use whatever you want to cut that out. Okay, now this part's sometimes tricky to get out. It's okay if your fidget spinner gets a little bit warped while you're taking this out. You can always just go back and reshape it. There we go. Okay, so that came out like that. There we go. Now I'm gonna just pop this bearing in here. You might have to make the hole a little bit bigger to fit it. It's in. That's in. Okay, so now what you're gonna wanna do, I'm just gonna move this template here for a bit. What you're gonna wanna do is make sure that you have clay that keeps the bearing in place. So you wanna make sure that clay goes over top of the bearing. If you don't have enough clay there, just use some of the clay that you removed and you can put it around. Now be sure not to put it around this little part right here, because this is the part of the bearing that spins, so that has to be free. But you can put it all around here if you like. I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing. Now you can see my fidget spinner is a little bit out of the shape that I wanted it to be, but once I get this all in place, then I can remold it into what shape I would like it to look like. And of course, I can smooth down these areas to make it just look really nice. Once you get the clay in place, that's when you can start sort of spending time making it look nice. You see how they have all these lines where I added those and there's a bit of lines there? If you just kind of work it, rub it almost like this a little bit, those lines are gonna start going away. And you're gonna wanna flip it back and forth and back and forth. There, so I got it as smooth as I want it to be. And I'm gonna take and just clean up the center just so it looks nice.
Once your bearing is in your clay, make sure to reshape it to the template because it's gonna get all misshapen when you put the bearing in.
So now that you have your spinner in the shape that you would like it to be in, you're gonna pop it in the oven. Now it says to bake it for 30 minutes at 230 degrees. We're gonna bake it for 20 minutes because we want to go ahead and put these things on just to have as a handhold. So the spinner works right now, but it's kind of tricky to hold on to because there's nothing really to grip except for that tiny, tiny little hole right there. So by putting something in between here and then putting these on, it gives your thumb and finger a place to grip and actually spin it. But if we put those on now, as it dries, it would dry warped like that. So we don't want that. We want it to dry nice and flat. So we'll bake it flat, take it out, add these on, and then we'll have our spinner ready to go. Okay, so now our fidget spinner is all baked, so you can see it's hard. It's not gonna bend. And really the fidget spinner works without having to put these things on it, but it's just a little bit tricky because you have to hold on to just this little part right here and have it spin. So you can't hold it like this. You have to really make sure that you're just touching this part. So what we're gonna do to make it easier is we want to put these kind of on here so it gives your thumb and finger a place to rest. Now this part is a little bit tricky. It's not too bad, but you have to make sure that when you put this in here, I'm going to put this in here, that you're not going to stop it from turning. So you have to make sure that this will still be able to turn. So I'm just going to take a small amount of clay and I'm going to stretch it out like this. And I'm going to put it in the middle of my fidget spinner like that. Then I'm going to take one of these, I'm going to kind of put it on top like this, and I'm gonna push it down. Now you wanna get it as close to it as possible, as close to your fidget spinner as possible, but you still want it to be able to turn. That's super, super important, is that it still turns. So I have that the way I want it, and I'm just gonna flatten this out a little bit, like that, and stretch it out, and make sure that still turns. It does, see? Perfect. So I've left a little bit of room in there. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. So again, you're gonna wanna make sure that this part right here is the part that turns, that inner part, see? You don't wanna have the clay go past that, because then it'll stop it from turning, especially once you bake it, because it'll become very hard. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna put this in here like that, and I'm gonna push it down a little bit. I'm gonna push this down like that, so it's kind of flat. There. Now, see, now it's easier to hold on to and spin it like that. So I'm gonna make sure that it's not too far down and that it's not blocking. There. Now you want to bake this again because you want that inner part to be nice and hard. There, that works nicely. I like that. Perfect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on my baking sheet again, but I'm not gonna put it flat against. I just took some tin foil and kind of rolled it up, folded it up like that. And I'm going to put this on top so that it's not gonna push this into itself. So I'm gonna bake this up for another 20 minutes. Well guys, there you go. Our fidget spinners are all baked and now they work. I'm really happy with them.
Yeah, so am I.
Wow, look how fast yours is going.
I can brag to my brother because my homemade one is better than his store-bought one.
It is, it goes faster and longer.
And it's cheaper.
Well, yeah, it's much cheaper to make your own. The clay was like $2 and then the bolts and stuff were very much $1 for a package. So, and we can make more than one. So it's super cheap. So there you go, it's a fun project to do, super easy, and it works beautifully. Have to make some more, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you all so much for watching.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel to be notified when we post new videos.
Bye!